it's really simple. If you go to slide 34, the process that you use in order to do analytical scoring, I really, from my experience when I did the practice, it's really not going to take that much longer to do than what we did when we arrived at a holistic score. Because remember, in a holistic score, we had to take consideration all 6 of those domains and all 10 of those scoring points that were out here. Now, this is what they tell us to do. They say first read the paper. You need to focus on ideas and content and organization. So you're just reading it for ideas, content, and organization as you go through that. And you'll assign a score for each domain, 1, 2, 3, or 4. That's what you do. You do that scoring. For the domains of ideas and content and organization. So you do that scoring first. So read it through, determine ideas and content and organization, score them. 1, 2, 3, 4. No pluses and minuses anymore, guys. It's a straight 1, a straight 2, a straight 3, a straight 4. Then they suggest that you review the paper, but this time you focus on word choice, voice, and sentence fluency conventions, which is really kind of cool, because now you're just looking for that. Now remember, if you've got good word choice and voice, it hooked you in some way physically. It gave you some type of a feeling, or it made you giggle or laugh or think or created those pictures in your mind. So that makes it a little bit easier. So then you're going to look at the sentence fluency and the conventions on that. And you assign that score, 1, 2, 3, 4, and you put those scores on that particular paper. So now you have 4 scores. So then each paper, if you look at the next slide, each paper is scored by 2 readers, just as it has before. And we look at agreement this time. We want exact matches or adjacent matches. And that's just like what we did before. You either have to have 2 4s or 3 to 4 or whatever. And if what changes this time around is that if we have a paper that's not in agreement, meaning it either matches or is adjacent, then there always is a 3rd reader. And that 3rd reader will be a table leader, and that'll be required for each. And they'll read for each domain if the scores are not in agreement. Now, the next slide are the rules for obtaining the final score for a student after a 3rd read. Now remember, that only occurs if what we had in the past, we called that a negotiation. We don't negotiate anymore. We have a 3rd person read that paper. If it's very simple, the rules are 3 of them here. It says if the 3rd score is an exact match to one of the original scores, the 2 matching scores are used. Sweet, easy. It says if the 3rd score is adjacent to one of the original scores, but not the other, the 3rd score and the score adjacent are to be used. Sweet, no problem. So we know that if the 3rd reader matches, they take that score and the matching score. If it's adjacent, they take the 2 adjacent scores. Now, if the 3rd score is adjacent to both scores, the 3rd score is used twice. Did you get that? If the 3rd score is adjacent to both scores, the 3rd score is used twice. Okay, let's look over here on the dot cam on that. So let's say that one rater gave straight 3s, and the other rater gave this paper a 1. Okay? So they're not in agreement, and they're not even adjacent. But the 3rd reader reads that paper, and their determination is that that paper scores at a 2. That paper scores as a 2, according to the new rules. Got it? So there's just matching scores, adjacent scores, and then if they're not adjacent, it's whatever the 3rd reader agrees with, to match or adjacent, or they take that center score. Simple. Very simple. when you're considering the impact, if you look on slide 37, the information that we're hoping to gain from this is that each student will include the 4 sub-scores and 1 scale score. Remember the 4 sub-scores, so the combined scores of Rater 1 and Rater 2, and then the scale score of the total added together of the 2 raters. Those are going to be reported to both students and parents. Over time, the data from this assessment can indicate a domain strength. That was one of the reasons that we moved to this type of a scoring, an analytic scoring, so we could actually look within the domains. And we wanted to know, so what are they good at? What do we need to help them strengthen? Strengths and weaknesses, so we'll be able to find that. And what's wonderful is that we'll be able to find that at 3 different levels: classroom, the school or building level, and also at the district level. So that's basically why we moved to the analytic scoring process. Now, if you have any questions, I'm going to invite you again right now to go ahead and jot those down in an email, and I'll make sure I get them posted to the website.